The Detroit Lions lose Game 3 of the preseason at home to the Miami Dolphins 24-17 in a game that, especially in the first half, I thought the Lions played pretty well, especially offensively. I thought Kyle Allen really continues to solidify that QB2 spot for the Lions. You really see how efficient he has been the last two games. This game, he only had 3 incompletions, which all 3 incompletions weren't even really that bad. A little bit of an overthrow, but the wide receivers still got their hands on the ball. I still put that a little bit on Kyle Allen. That makes it a really tough catch. But outside of that, and outside of really the penalty for him throwing it past the line of scrimmage, which wasn't good whatsoever, you never want to see your quarterback do that. I thought Kyle Allen was efficient. I thought he was able to find his guys in Isaac Tesla and Jackson Meeks. If you really want to talk about a wide receiver that is really finding his place on this 53-man roster, or at least making it really, really difficult for Brad Holmes, I think Jackson Meeks is that guy. He's been absolutely balling out in preseason, especially in the games. He's really pushing Dominic Levitt for that last probably wide receiver spot. Maybe they might take Dominic Levitt and Jackson Meeks. But one thing that we know about Brad Holmes is that he loves his draft picks. So I'm really going to be interested to see where he kind of goes with this, because we obviously know that Dominic Levitt is someone that can contribute to special teams. We've seen it. We know that Brad Holmes likes special teams. Dan Campbell likes special teams. He wants the guys that have been able to contribute on offense or defense and special teams. So you can definitely see Dominic Levitt find his way on the 50-man 3 roster. But I think that Jackson Meeks just, like I said, continues to show out in these games. He had another touchdown, ends up leading the team in receptions for 7 receptions, 93 yards. Again, another touchdown, back-to-back games. He's just someone that really makes plays, and he's someone that you can really see just continue to be kind of that 6'7" wide receiver for the Lions, and you feel comfortable. And I think that really shows you how deep this Lions wide receiver room is, because you have another guy that is absolutely balling out that I've talked plenty enough about, but I'm going to continue to talk about. Isaac Tesla was fantastic today. He had 4 receptions for 41 yards, had another touchdown, first touchdown in Ford Field. I'm sure that was really meaningful for him, but he had a great touchdown catch. I believe it was like 3rd and long. Basically, Kyle Allen just chucks it up. He goes up, beats his defender, and brings it down and scores a touchdown. Just Isaac Tesla is a guy that whenever you need someone to go to, he's going to be a target in the red zone. He's going to be a target when you have a 3rd and long situation. He's going to be a target that you're going to be able to trust. And while overall he's been really good, I still think he needs to continue to work on his route running. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown will obviously be able to help with that. Obviously, both preseason, he hasn't been able to play. Dan Campbell doesn't play starters. But Isaac Tesla has been everything that Lions fans have wanted. And you just continue to see every single week him continue to make plays over and over and over. And that's why a lot of people continue to talk about maybe he can be that Puka Nacua for this Lions team. And I think he definitely can be. Obviously, these are against backups. These are against third-string guys. We need to see him do it against first-string defenses. But what we've been seeing from Isaac Tesla and Jackson Meeks, I'm really impressed with this wide receiver room, and they've just been right there every step of the way. I obviously think Isaac Tesla's guaranteed a roster spot at this point. I think he's continuing to work his way into that first-team rotation. I think he could be wide receiver 3 depending on Tim Patrick, and then you also have Jackson Meeks that I think is really making it difficult, which if you're a Lions fan and if you're a Lions GM, I think you're exactly wanting that to happen. You don't want these decisions to be easy, and he's not making this easy whatsoever. But outside of that, I think the quarterback battle for the backup spot is pretty easy at this point. I think Dan Campbell also in the press conference after the game really said that, because he's basically saying that he's going to give Hendon Hooker all the reps next week. Like, he's going to want to see what Hendon Hooker has to deal with. I also think that Hendon Hooker just has grown as a player. I think he's gotten better. I just feel like this type of offense and the scheme just really doesn't fit what he wants. I think this is one of those things that he's going to be a guy that is going to want to go up-tempo. I think the last drive that he went on, the 2-minute drive, I think really showed kind of the strengths that Hendon Hooker can have. I think he can be a really good quarterback, but I think it's about building that trust, about getting the ball out of his hands fast, because when you saw he get the ball out of his hands fast, he was concise, he was accurate, he was able to get the ball to his guys. When you finally start kind of including more difficult routes or like longer routes, then I think you have a little bit of Hendon Hooker thinking. And when you come into the NFL and you're thinking as a quarterback, you really can't do that too much because then you're not going to be able to find any open wide receivers. Like, you have to trust your skill. You have to trust what you see. And there's times where Hendon Hooker did that. But there's other times where he had a rollout where he had a perfectly fine pocket, but he basically rolled out right into a sack. Like, you cannot afford to do that, especially in a quarterback 2 battle. But I think Kyle Allen is going to be that quarterback number 2. I think it just kind of depends on what's going to happen with Hendon Hooker. I do think Hendon Hooker probably ends up being quarterback number 3 for the Lions. Now, there is a real possibility that he could be cut and maybe brought back on the practice roster. But again, this is only game 3. We have a whole another week. We have game 4 next week against the Houston Texans. So we'll see how he responds there. But I'm really liking what I see from Kyle Allen. Is he the most athletic? Is he the best backup in the NFL? Absolutely not. But is he serviceable from what we've seen, at least in the games? I think the answer is yes. So maybe he can come in, maybe win you a game or two if you really have to. But obviously, as all Lions fans, I'm knocking on wood, hoping that Jared Goff never gets injured and that he just can continue to play every single week. Because for a lot of the NFL, if your backup comes in, you really can't necessarily trust them. So that's really my thoughts on kind of the quarterback battle, wide receiver position. There's another really topic that I want to talk about, and that is Sione Vaki and the running back room with a guy like Jacob Saylor. Like, Jacob Saylor is a guy that has done everything he needs to do. Like, he's a guy that just runs hard. He's a guy that really takes advantage of his opportunities, especially in the third, fourth quarter. He's a guy that's really continuing to fight and probably going to be a guy that's going to be hopefully on the practice squad for this Lions team. You can really see the potential that he has. But Sione Vaki, overall, he's been injured, obviously, but he was able to play in this game. I thought Sione Vaki looked really good at times. I thought his pass protection was really good. I thought he had some really hard runs throughout this game. He also did force a fumble on a punt return as well, which you absolutely love to see. I know that Kelvin Shepard really talks about wanting to force turnovers and the key to forcing turnovers and getting their hands on the ball. And I think the Lions did a lot better in this game doing that. I think the Lions, while they weren't able to recover a lot of these forced fumbles, you have a couple of guys that have been able to get their hands on the ball, like a Sione Vaki, like a Grant Stewart. Like, those guys have been balling out. And you have a guy in a linebacker spot with Grant that he's just flying all over the place. And if I saw a meme of basically like the Lions having the best hair in all of the NFL, it's true. Like, you have him, you have Thor, you have Tate Radledge. Tate Radledge didn't play in this game. Tyleek Williams didn't play in this game. They did dress. You also have Terrion Arnold dressing, but he didn't play in this game. Not really anything there to really talk about. But I think defensively, they've been better at getting their hands on the ball. They had several opportunities of tip passes where they were able to get the interception. But I thought Kelvin Shepard overall called a pretty good game. I thought he was really aggressive at times and really kind of trusts his secondary. Obviously, this is a secondary of you going for like CB 4, 5, 6, 7. When you kind of get down to 6 and 7, they obviously struggled a little bit in pass coverage, but there's a lot of teams that kind of feels like that. But I thought that the defense had the right calls at the right times. I thought the defense performed pretty well overall. But yeah, I think Kelvin Shepard's done a good job. I think John Moran had a great play call. It was a 4th down, the first touchdown of the game. It was just a beautifully designed play by John Moran to open up the pass. Like, he's been good. He's been good. Want to continue to see more of that, but I really can't complain too much about these coordinators. I know a lot of the factor going into this season is what is the coordinators going to do? How good are they going to be? What is it going to be like calling plays? And I think they've been pretty good so far, and I think the offense has looked good at times when Kyle Allen is leading the charge. I think the defense has looked good at times outside of the Hall of Fame game. I think the Hall of Fame game was really kind of one of its own. I think, obviously, with it being that early, they're still kind of trying to figure out. But I think we are going to see this offense and defense just continue to be good for the Lions. And I think this defense is going to be better this year as well. And I think there's some playmakers making some plays on the defensive side of the ball, which is obviously great to see. But yeah, obviously you never want to lose games, but it's the preseason. You're 1-2. right now, I don't think that really necessarily matters. We're getting closer to a 53-man roster. We're getting closer to cuts. Obviously, you never want to see anyone get cut. It's a part of the business, part of what it's like being an NFL player. It sucks. Some of these guys will get opportunities, other of these guys won't. Like, some of these guys will end up being in the practice squad, some of these guys will be on other teams. Just the way it is, just the side of business the NFL has. So obviously we're getting closer to that point, which for any one of those players, if you ever listen to this, sorry that it happened. I truly am. It's just business, and these players understand that they have an opportunity to make some plays. There's some guys making some plays, and there's some guys that are not. And I think overall there's more positives coming out of this game than negatives. We'll see what next week factors in with the Houston Texans. And then after that, we'll see what the cuts are. We'll see what happens with the backup spot. We'll see if Jackson Meeks makes the roster. I think right now he's really in. I think he's forcing himself in over Dominic Levitt. But like I said earlier, you know that Brad Holmes loves his draft picks, and Jackson Meeks is not one of them. But he's also related to Zadarius Smith, and there's a real possibility that we could see Zadarius Smith back in Detroit. I know that's been a conversation that has been had several times. It seems like he's really kind of pushing for that a little bit more, which I would love. Obviously, he isn't the one making that decision. But yeah, we're getting closer to the end of preseason in Lions football coming up. So hopefully you continue to tune in and support this podcast. I'll definitely talk about preseason practice next week. I'll talk about the preseason game, and then I'll do a preview of the season coming up. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and tune in to the next episode.